In the Middle Ages, food was not just fuel. It was often the first and only form of medicine. There were no pills, no vaccines, and no modern clinics. For a fever, you reached for herbs, not antibiotics. For a wound, you turned to honey, not bandages. People looked to what they could grow, store, or trade. Healing wasn't confined to monasteries. It happened in kitchens, in gardens, and around smoky hearths. Garlic wasn't just flavor, it was life-saving. Vinegar was more than a preservative. It cleaned wounds. Every meal held the possibility of comfort or cure. In a time of uncertainty, people clung to ancient wisdom, folk remedies, and hope. This is the story of how food helped medieval people survive not just hunger, but illness. Most medieval people lived in rural villages, exposed to the elements, working long hours with little rest. As a result, they were constantly vulnerable to fevers, wounds, stomach problems, and infections. With no formal doctors nearby, they turned to what was available. Warm onion broth for colds, barley water for digestion, cabbage leaves wrapped around swollen joints. Peasants believed leeks could purify the blood, and garlic boiled in milk could ease coughs. There was a practical wisdom passed down through generations. Remedies came from grandmothers and monks alike. In a world with few choices, the line between food and pharmacy often disappeared. At the heart of medieval medicine was the theory of the four humors: blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile. These fluids were believed to control health, emotion, and personality. Illness came from imbalance. Food wasn't just sustenance. It was a tool to restore harmony. If someone was melancholic, foods that were warm and dry might be prescribed, like roasted meat or spiced wine. A feverish patient needed cooling foods, like cucumbers or barley water. Even bread had its category: coarse rye for cleansing, white wheat for softening the stomach. Meals were tailored not just by season or status, but by perceived temperament. It was a deeply symbolic system, but one that guided diets for centuries. While peasants relied on memory and instinct, monks wrote things down. Medieval monasteries became centers of learning, preservation, and healing. Behind high stone walls, monks grew gardens rich with healing herbs: sage, thyme, marjoram, lavender, and chamomile. They studied texts by Hippocrates, Galen, and Avicenna, blending ancient knowledge with their own trials. Recipes were copied into hand-bound books, passed through generations. Some monks specialized in healing, crafting tonics, salves, and syrups. Elderberry wine was used for fever, fennel for digestion. Even prayers were prescribed. Spiritual and physical health went hand in hand. In a world with few doctors, monks became the guardians of both the body and the soul. Some medieval remedies were surprisingly specific. A common one: boil garlic with vinegar, mash it into a paste, and apply to infected wounds. For sore throats, mix honey with dried sage. For stomach aches, drink warm wine infused with rosemary. Not all were effective by today's standards, but many were grounded in observation. Food and medicine blurred together. A healing soup might include barley, garlic, leeks, and a splash of vinegar. Sometimes the treatment was more ritual than science, but often there was comfort in routine. In the absence of certainty, consistency and tradition were their strongest tools. Among all the ingredients in a medieval kitchen, honey held special status. It was sweet, rare, and sacred. Its antibacterial properties were not fully understood, but they were known. Honey was used to dress wounds, heal burns, and soothe ulcers. Mixed with herbs, it became a cough syrup. Added to water, it became a tonic. Monks raised bees not only for wax, but for medicine. Honey was also symbolic, its golden glow a sign of purity and healing. In times of illness or fear, a spoonful of honey offered hope, comfort, and just enough sweetness to carry on. Garlic was the medicine of the poor, cheap, easy to grow, and powerful. It was eaten raw, crushed into wine, boiled in milk, or fried with onions. It was believed to expel worms, boost the heart, cleanse the stomach, and drive off evil spirits. Garlic was rubbed on wounds, hung above doors, and carried as a talisman. It crossed boundaries between the physical and the mystical. Doctors, monks, and farmers all used it. Its sharpness made it unforgettable. Its smell was the scent of healing, for better or worse. But not all medieval cures were wise or safe. Desperate people tried desperate things. Roasted mice were used to treat coughs. Some drank a mixture of raw egg, soot, and vinegar to cure the plague. Toad skins were worn on the chest to absorb poisons. There were powders made of bone, bloodletting to balance the body, and ointments of burnt animal fat. In some cases, people died not from illness, but from the cure. It's easy to judge from the future, but for them, trying was better than doing nothing. And sometimes, the most bizarre remedy was all they had left. Not everything was superstition. Many medieval people were excellent observers. They knew that cabbage soothed swelling. They noticed honey helped wounds heal faster. Over time, they learned from results, sometimes better than theory. What we now call folk medicine was rooted in trial and error. These traditions form the basis of later medical science. Even today, modern treatments trace their roots to what monks recorded and peasants discovered. It wasn't science yet, but it wasn't blind guessing either. It was survival, carefully written in recipes and memory. They had no laboratories, no pills, no machines, but they had garlic, honey, cabbage, prayer, and hope. They healed not just with herbs, but with ritual, belief, and the quiet knowledge passed from mother to daughter, monk to novice. Healing wasn't clean or easy, but it was deeply human. In every spoon of broth, every smear of honey, there was a desire to care, to protect life in a harsh world. That legacy still lives in every home remedy, every healing tea, every garden grown with love.